it's Elizabeth from Elpis Astrology at elpisastrology.com. Thank you so much for joining me. This is your astrological forecast for 2021 for your ascendant and or your sun sign. I'll start off with the theme as I see it. Because we had that whole Jupiter conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign, and all the Mercury retrogrades in 2021 will be in air signs, I feel there's a feeling of air, a breath of fresh air, or you're full of hot air. Or for those that want to do something, let's go fly a kite. But in all seriousness, this will be a year where we concretely put a focus on humanity for all, everyone being treated equally. I think our air quality is always up for review, but I think there's going to be taking some real action with regards to cleaning up our air this year in 2021. We have 4 eclipses. We're going to be doing the last eclipses for Gemini and Sagittarius. And we actually have an eclipse on the 26th of May at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's a total eclipse. On the 10th of June, we have a Gemini eclipse at 19 degrees. And then on the 19th of November, we start a new series of eclipses with Taurus, and that's at 27 degrees. Then we finish the year on the 4th of December with a final total eclipse, and that's at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Notably, there's a new moon that's on the 13th of January, and that will be conjuncting Pluto. So this is a very important new start for us. And then in terms of retrogrades, Mercury retrogrades, as I mentioned, they're all in air. The first one we have in Aquarius at the end of January, and then in Gemini at the end of May, and then at the end of September we have one in Libra. We also have a Venus retrograde that happens in December this year, the 19th of December, and it'll be conjuncting Pluto at that time at 25 degrees Capricorn. I think this is an important Venus retrograde. It will wrap itself up in January 2022, but it does start in December of 2021. In terms of the major squares, we certainly have a Jupiter square, a direct Uranus, and that's on the 15th of Jan. There's only one of those, but we do have 3 Saturn square Uranus. One on the 16th of February, one on the 13th of June, and then the final one on the 24th of December, or Christmas Eve. Now certainly the Saturn square Uranus will be forming kind of a backdrop to a lot of things that will be happening, especially to us collectively. And that is really making changes where changes have to be made. And that's changes to all our structures, especially government and any of our many, many institutions that we have. The other things that are happening that are of note will be on the 20th of June. We have a direct Mars and a direct Uranus conjuncting at 6 degrees. So if you have anything around 6 degrees of Taurus, this 20th of Jan may be very important in terms of some unexpected action, either unexpected action from you or unexpected action coming from the outside world. And collectively, this can manifest in something very unexpected. I almost see it like unexpected action that comes and pounces out totally unexpectedly. Let's see. The other unusual thing that we have happening is that Jupiter, instead of just spending a year in one sign, Jupiter actually hits 2 signs in 2021. So Jupiter does go into Pisces from the 14th of May to the 29th of July. And then it retrogrades back and then goes forward into Aquarius. So it's 0 to 2 degrees. So you could also note that, have you got anything around 0 to 2 degrees of Pisces? Because you're going to get a double dip of Jupiter in 2021 going over it and then back over it again. May be important to you. We have a Venus retrograde, I've already mentioned that, on the 19th of December at 26 degrees of Capricorn, conjuncting Pluto. This will be a very important time. There's also a full moon happening at the 27 degree mark of Gemini at that time. Okay, so that kind of wraps up kind of themes and kind of main things, events that are happening astrologically that will affect us mainly in the background. Let's go through each of the signs. So we'll start off with Aries. So Aries, you still have, although he's going forward, we still have Mars up until the 6th of Jan in your sign. But then it'll go into Taurus, and of course Taurus represents your second house. Second house is the income that you make. It's also your value system and to some extent love. Now, you have a couple things that are important. You have Mars, that's going to be conjuncting Uranus. So both Uranus and Mars will be direct at this time, on the 14th and 15th of Jan. So this could be a time, a couple days here, where you're going to take some important action. And I suspect this important action is as a result of this whole Mars retrograde that you had in 2020 in your sign, that may have asked you to really consider many things in your life. Here you may decide to take some action, or it may be unexpected action happens to you that you did not expect around this time. But it could also involve money. You know, you could decide at this time that you can make some big changes in either how you make money, maybe connected to your value system. Maybe you decide that you are not being valued enough in your job and you request more money to be paid to you. Or you completely change your job so you can earn more money that you view is basically treating you with more value. You have the Sun in Aries, which squares Capricorn. And this is the 14th, 15th, and 16th of April. And so this really speaks to perhaps those in authority challenging you at this time. So this applies to all Aries, but especially those born around the 14th, 15th, 16th of April, because you'll have a direct hit here. I would suggest that just make sure that you've got your compromise hat on and negotiating hat, because you can use a square that way too. It doesn't always have to be bad, but it's certainly people in authority challenging you. Maybe you've got to present something that day. Doesn't mean you won't be successful, but be prepared for opposition. Venus will be in Aries March and April 2021. And this just basically mark those 2 months as easier months, things going your way, and things just being a little bit brighter. Venus is basically called a lesser benefit, so it offers some lovely benefits. You may have some of those coming your way, but it just creates this sort of lovely rosy hue for the sign that is in for that month. And for you, you've got 2 months. On the 26th of May, we have this total full moon eclipse at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. Well, this trines your sign. And we also have the total new moon eclipse on the 4th of December that also trines your sign at 12 degrees. So check to see where Sagittarius, what house it's in your chart, and if there's specifically any planets that might be at 5 degrees or 12 degrees of Sagittarius, and or your own sign of Aries. This just sets up some lovely, lovely motion to sort of move forward. And this could be in relation to your day-to-day life, whether it's your habits that you decide you want to make some change what's going to be easier at this time. It could also be a time when you decide to change the work that you're doing, change your job. So the 6th house is the job that you're doing day to day. As I mentioned, your habits. Habits especially as it relates to your health. So this would be diet and exercise. It could be that you get some great push to move forward positively to actually address all these things. And this, we're talking from May to December, so that's a good chunk of 2021 that you've got some positive influence here from these eclipses. And don't forget, eclipses typically can last 3 to 6 months. So whatever effects that you do put in around the 26th of May, as well as the 4th of December, are going to be very positive for you with regards to the 6th house. October 2021, you have this Mercury retrograde that'll be in Libra opposite your sign. So it may be that you're having to deal with some relationship issues or friendship issues. Libra can be friendships too. But the Mercury retrograde in Libra opposing your sign of Aries will definitely be asking you to take a closer look at even just how you communicate in your relationships. And it could be people approaching you to ask you to make some changes, and or it could be that you don't like the way some people are communicating with you and you have to address them at that time. Good luck, Aries. All right, Taurus. Well, Taurus, you continue, of course, to have Uranus in your sign, and it does go forward in January. So that's something to look forward to for you progressing forward with regards to whatever changes or enlightenment that you need to receive. It does go direct on the 14th of Jan, Uranus that is, at 6 degrees. So check to see if you've got something at 6 degrees. That may actually be more significant for you with regards to moving forward with things. Now, we have the Sun that will be in Taurus, and it'll be trining Pluto. Now, the birthdays that this affects directly will be the 15th to the 17th of May, Taurus birthdays. And this is where literally you get the power. So it may be that you've been waiting for some power to be given to you with regards to expressing yourself. The Sun is you inside, and then Pluto is power. Very positive. We have Jupiter, which will be squaring Uranus, and that's in your 10th. Your 10th and 1st houses are involved here. We're looking at 6 to 14 degrees, which is where Uranus will be during 2021. It'll traverse these degrees, 6 to 14 degrees. And this will be you making some decisions in your career. You may be, in some ways, required to make these changes unexpectedly. You only get one of these squares this year, the Jupiter square, Uranus. So your 1st house is you, and your 10th house is your career. So it may be that for some reason you have to make this decision. Maybe it means that you have to move because of a change in your career, or you take a new job on, and it means that you have to move. Jupiter is, the planet of foreign people, foreign things. Could be, I guess, one possibility that you decide to take up a career in a foreign land, or you get an opportunity to actually do that. Big change for you in your career, for sure. That affects you obviously directly. Saturn will be squaring Uranus, and as I mentioned, it's 3 times that it'll be doing that: mid-February, end of October, and then the end of December. And again, this will involve your 10th and 1st house, so this just kind of shores that whole thing up with some big change in your career. And this could be a positive change too, where out of the blue something comes in where your skills and abilities are needed and they want you right away. Or with Saturn there squaring, it could be that there's some unexpected changes in the structure that you're in right now, the job situation that you're in right now, that may require you to change your career. And this could be negative or positive, right? Uranus doesn't care either way. It just knows that it needs to shake things up so that you can get to where you want it, where you really want to go. In the end, this will be a positive thing. But it looks like it'll be a process from mid-Feb to the end of December for you. So it seems to me that your career is highlighted a lot here, and then by default, you. So positive change in your career. Now, what's interesting, in January 2022, we will have the north nodes of the moon, so that's our collective destiny, going into Taurus. So you're going to have some destiny type things starting the following year, January 2022, for about a year and a half. And the eclipses, the last two total eclipses that are going to be happening mid-year and then in December in Sagittarius, this will be happening in your 8th house. So the 8th house represents various things. It could be a time where you decide to access your money, your shared money that you have, or your savings that you have, or your pension that you've been putting money into, 401k, that type of thing. That could be happening for you. 8th house is also your inner mind, your psychological self. With the eclipses in Sagittarius, there could be some kind of enlightenment that comes through, and it won't be unpleasant. It could also be that you could make money through a foreign connection. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And we are looking at Jupiter on the whole brings good luck. So these eclipses could bring you some good luck with regards to shared resources of some sort. And of course the eclipses themselves last approximately 3 to 6 months. But it could also be some increase in sexuality of some sort. There's some issues or highlighting of some sort of sexuality during those eclipses. But the 8th house also represents inheritances. Now these are obviously rare, but that's another thing that could be up for you as well, especially since they are eclipses and Jupiter ruled. Good luck. And this may come also out of the blue for you. So for the first eclipse that's going to be happening in your sign, Taurus, at 27 degrees of Taurus, so look to see where 27 degrees Taurus is in your chart. That happens on the 19th of November, and the birthdays that are specifically highlighted for this first eclipse is the 17th to the 19th of May birthdays. But it is a whole new start for Taurus as a sign, these eclipses. So the following year, 2022, we're going to see eclipses in not only Taurus, but also in the opposite sign of Scorpio. So Taurus and Scorpio are up in 2022 for a year and a half with regards to destiny changes, where you get people coming in, events coming in, things coming in that aid you on where you're supposed to be going in this lifetime. All right, for Gemini. So Gemini, this whole year is taken up with the north nodes of the moon in your signs. It's a very fateful year, and destiny is going to be calling your name. It'll be to January 2022, where the north nodes of the moon finish up in your sign and then go into Taurus. So this could be a very exciting year for you, Gemini, whether you're Gemini ascendant, whether you're Gemini sun, or whether you have a conglomeration of planets in Gemini as well. So be optimistic about landing where you need to land to get on your destiny path in 2021. Pay attention to who comes into your life, because even though it may not be obvious that this person can help you, they may very well, especially if they come in unexpectedly. that's what happens when you have the north nodes of the moon in your sign. And of course, this is approximately 19 to 20 years you have this happening for you. So you could look back to about 19 years ago and see what themes were going on and what happened. Now, generally speaking, it's not exactly what happened then, but there's usually an underlying theme that you can pick up. You have the squares of Saturn to Uranus, and then Jupiter does it once, a square to Uranus. And so this involves your 9th and 12th houses. Now, the 9th and 12th houses are, the 9th house is foreign people, foreign things. It's also education, where you decide to take higher education. It's also just higher levels of thinking, so where you may attain enlightenment, that type of thing. And then the 12th house really is a house of rest. It's a hidden house. It could be a time when you become more involved with hidden places. For instance, a hospital is an example of a hidden place. It doesn't mean you necessarily would be going to a hospital or to a hidden place, but it may be you need to go to these places as a result of what happens around you. Typically, a lot of astrologers view the 12th house as, say, a place where you start to get in touch with your inner spiritual self. So it could be a time when you take up spirituality and delve into maybe the metaphysical. It could be shamanism you decide to go into. Maybe just clearing up your whole self could be something that you decide to do too, because especially the Saturn square Uranus happens 3 times, so this is a background energy for you for the whole of 2021. The last 2 total eclipses that happen in Sagittarius happen in your 7th house. So it's 5 and 12 degrees of Sagittarius respectively. It happens on the 26th of May and on the 4th of December. So the 7th house is your house of partnerships. Typically we view our marriage as our partnerships, but it can also be our business any business partnership. It will definitely be up for some kind of review and change. So I always say with something like this, anticipate it, but maybe also see if there's something that you can do in advance. And instead of having things happen to you, you make the change. But partnerships are up this year for you with these 2 final total eclipses in Sagittarius in your sign of partnerships, the 7th house. So we have a new moon eclipse in your sign at 19 degrees on the 10th of June. The birthdays this will affect are mainly from the 9th to the 11th of June. That will be affected directly. But this is your new start, Gemini, with this new moon eclipse. And again, the effects last 3 to 6 months. This is kind of mid-year. This could be just a wonderful new change. Maybe it's a new change that you instigate. Maybe it's a change that you anticipate at the beginning of January and you pick June to make that new beginning in whatever it is. This is up for grabs, whatever it is that you need to make new in your life. You're also going to have a Mercury retrograde until the 22nd of June. So it's interesting where you're going to be having this new moon eclipse in June, but you're also going to have your Mercury retrograde in June. So June, earmark June for all Geminis, but especially those that have their birthdays, say, around the 9th to 11th of June. And then those who have their ascendants in Gemini from the 24th degree of Gemini to the 16th degree of Gemini ascendants. That Mercury retrograde is going to affect you the most. But all retrogrades this year, 2021, are going to be in air signs. So these will be, the retrogrades, when you hear them coming, are going to be positive for all the air signs. And that's, of course, you, Gemini. Okay. Keep me posted with regards to the big changes that happen on your destiny path, Gemini. I would be interested to hear them. For Cancer, we have Pluto still opposite your sun, for instance, certainly your sign. And this will continue, but it'll be at the latter degrees. So it'll be at the 24 to 26 degrees of Cancer. So if you've got your sun around there, so that'll be the 17th to the 19th of July birthdays. You're going to still be affected by these big transformational effects by those people in power, as it's opposite Cancer. You have your new moon at 23, there's a new moon at 23 degrees of Capricorn on the 13th of January, right at the beginning of 2021, in your 7th house, Cancer. This will be conjuncting Pluto, within range for sure. So I would say this could be a transformational new relationship comes into your life. Typically this would be a new love relationship, but it could be a new friendship that somehow really plays a big part in your life, especially in 2021. But that's something to look forward to, for sure. Jupiter will go into Pisces twice this year, but it'll only be from 0 degrees to 2 degrees of Pisces. Now, as a sign, Pisces is a water sign, and Cancer is a water sign. So there's a lovely trine aspect that happens, and this is just favorable energy. But favorable energy can sometimes just go by without us really noticing it because it's just so favorable and nice. So you might want to also look to this time period. So this will be May till the end of July. And then again, at the end of December, we'll have this lovely Jupiter in Pisces. Now, it'll mainly affect the 22nd to 24th of June birthdays directly. But it could bring in some nice levels of spirituality and good luck coming your way with that trine. You may have some unusual good luck happen around this time. But especially those birthdays from the 22nd to the 24th of June, those are going to be highlighted here. We have a Venus retrograde that starts at the end of December and then ends the next year in January 2022 at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So the birthdays this affects will be the 17th, the 20th of July. But I suggest that this may affect all Cancers as well, this Venus retrograde. What can this mean? This could have past loves coming back in our life and contacting us. It could have delays to love coming your way, delays to money as well. It could just have you reviewing at the end of December and early January 2022 how you value yourself and how you may change that up. Yeah, it can also have money coming back to you as well. So it's sort of things coming back to you, whether it's money, a person that you loved before, or you reviewing your values. That's kind of, generally speaking, what a Venus retrograde talks to. Now, you're going to have the squares of Jupiter square Uranus, and then the 3 squares of Saturn square Uranus in your 11th and 8th houses. So the 11th house is your friends and the groups you belong to, your hopes and wishes. And the 8th house is a very hidden house, but it's also where your resources are that you share with others. It's where your 401ks are and your investments, and it's also your psychological self. So here you just may see some changes where you decide to unexpectedly make changes in these areas. It may be that the structures surrounding, say, the groups you belong to suddenly change for some reason. It could be even friends disappear from your life unexpectedly. It could be a time too where you seek you seek some psychological help at this time, or you start delving into how you operate inside your head. Maybe even some enlightenment of some sort comes in, where the aha button goes off in your head, and an epiphany arises where you see what's going on. You see what you're doing. You see what effects you have on others. Okay, let's move on to Leo. Well, at the end of Jan to the 21st of February, the Mercury Retrograde that's happening in Aquarius will be opposing your sign, Leo. So I would say that this is something where you may just want to prepare for this, where people may not be communicating well with you. Your 7th house is activated by that Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. And it also activates the eclipses from August 2017, but also February 2017. So it may be a little uncomfortable, and then again, it may also remind you of some maybe promises you made to yourself back in 2017, where maybe you're going to get a chance to go back, and some kind of communication is required by you to make these happen. But this will be an important Mercury retrograde for you, Leo. Now, the last 2 big total eclipses that happen in Sagittarius, so Sagittarius is a fire sign just like Leo, are going to be providing some very favorable energy for you. So these are total eclipses. And one happens at the end of May in your 5th house. And then the new moon in the 4th of December is also there. So we have the 1st and the 5th house involved here. And I think that you may be very happily surprised here with these major changes that may happen. You could have a new love come into your life. You could have a pregnancy happen. You could start your own business. But these are total eclipses, so these are big events. These aren't like minor things. What else could you have happen? Oh, these are games of chance too. So I'm not saying you're going to win the lottery, but certainly games of chance are also ruled by the 5th house. And because these are eclipses, something could happen to change your life. But it could be as something as meeting a new love that changes your life forever. You meet them at the end of May and maybe become engaged in the 4th of December. These are all things that could be possible. Now we do have a Taurus eclipse, and that will be squaring Leo. That's at 27 degrees of Taurus. And it affects those birthdays that are from the 19th to the 21st of August birthdays directly. With the squares from Jupiter to Uranus, that happens once. And then you've got 3 squares that happen with Saturn and Uranus. That affects your 7th and 10th houses. So this is a time where not only your relationships can change, but your career may change. So it could be that you change your job and this affects your relationship negatively or positively. Or it could be that something happens with your actual relationships that affects your career that you're in. So both these areas are going to be highlighted, where you're going to have some challenging things, and you're going to have to compromise around those, especially the Saturn square Uranus. Those 3 are going to be background energies that you will have to deal with regards to your 7th house of relationships and your 10th house of career. So both those are going to be up throughout all of 2021. All right, let's look at Virgo next. So for Virgo, we have Neptune will be opposing your sign. And it'll be at approximately 18 degrees of Pisces. So Neptune can certainly increase our spirituality and bring spiritual things to us, and can also inspire us and give us great compassion. But it also can create smoke screens and deception at this time. So you may be watching out for that as well. Now, we also have Jupiter for a short period of time going from 0 to 2 degrees of Pisces. And it does it 2 times in 2021, mid-May and then the end of December to January the following year, 2022. The birthdays that it's going to affect the most will be the 23rd to the 27th of August. Now Jupiter by a square, you can't really get a bad aspect usually with Jupiter, but what it could do is increase your susceptibility to take risks. And I would suggest that you may want to weigh those up carefully. We have the 7th house involved here, so it could be that you have to make some adjustments with regards to either your business or marriage partnerships. Now the squares that are between Saturn and Uranus and Jupiter and Uranus are in your 6th and 9th house. So now the 6th house is your day-to-day job, and the 9th house is foreign people, foreign things, higher education, that type of thing. It's also publishing too. So I'm thinking the 6th and 9th houses may have you negotiating, perhaps changing your job, where you don't do a job, that maybe you decide that you go back to school, or it may you may decide to do your job in a foreign country or work with foreign people as part of your job. That could be something that is a background energy for you throughout 2021. And you may have some good luck here stepping in as well for you, even though they're squares. So the last 2 eclipses that are in Sagittarius, the total eclipses, they happen in your 4th house of home. So if I think about just what I talked about previously, of you maybe changing your job, maybe with these last 2 eclipses that you decide to change where you live as a result of your career. So you may decide to actually live in a foreign land. This might be the time that you decide to do that. So those 2 eclipses that I talked about in Sagittarius are at 5 degrees and 12 degrees Sagittarius respectively, and they happen on the 26th of May and the 4th of December. So they cover really the last half of 2021. Or you just may decide to go back to school. That's the other thing that you may decide to do, that becomes your job. Whatever way you look at it, you're going to be changing your home. And the birthdays that affects directly are the 17th, the 19th of September birthdays. Now Pluto very nicely will be trining your sign and in your 5th house. And those birthdays are the 17th to the 19th of September as well. So there's some positive things happening for you here. As something changes in your home, it will help transform maybe a new love in your life. It could mean a new child in your life. Or it could be that you just decide to do your own business as well. That's another thing that could happen. The Mercury Retrograde in Gemini at the end of May to the 22nd of June, that will be squaring Virgo. Yeah. So you may have a little more challenges. And because you are also a sign that's ruled by Mercury, you are affected, generally speaking, by all Mercury retrogrades. Yeah. So, back up your computers. Make sure whatever messages you are going to be sending, especially email or written, that you double check your work. And that may apply to all of 2021, but especially at this one, the end of May to the 22nd of June. Now the eclipse in Gemini that's on the 10th of June at 19 degrees of Gemini, it is in your 10th house. So here again, we see that your career may be affected. So although we spoke earlier about your day-to-day job, this is your actual career. So there's some big change due to happen in your career because it's your 10th house. This is a new start for you of some sort. So maybe after getting some not so great news, you open up another door and it's actually really positive. We have the first Taurus eclipse at 27 degrees on the 19th of November. And of course that trines your sign. The birthdays that are affected by that are the 19th to the 22nd of September. So really, if we look at it, those birthdays that are around the 19th of September specifically as a day, you've got lots of changes, a lot of positive changes coming your way. But remember, especially with the eclipses, sometimes things happen out of the blue, unexpectedly, and it's not what you wanted. But just bear this in mind, that a lot of times when those things happen, it turns out to be the best thing. And I'm not just saying that, I've personally had these things happen to me. So bear that in mind as things happen unexpectedly, that they could turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to you. Take care, Virgo. You have the squares of Saturn square Uranus, that's 3 times, February, June, December, and January you have Jupiter square Uranus. With Jupiter and Saturn in a fellow air sign of Aquarius, it trines your air sign, Libra. So this is very favorable energy for you. So even though there are squares, in other words, you may have some kind of obstacle to overcome, this is going to be favorable for you, whatever way it turns out. And it features your 5th house. So the 5th house, what is that? The 5th house is a number of things. It's your own business. It is the initial stages of a love affair. It is children. It's also expressing your authentic self, especially your artistic authentic self, and it's games of chance. It's also the house where some can gain fame or infamy, I guess, but it's kind of like that. So it's all these areas that could be up for you, where you are going to have to put in the effort. That's what I would say here, the effort. But overarching all this, I would say this year 2021 is important for you to express your authentic self, and maybe ask yourself that as you are going about activities to do with the 5th house. Are you expressing your authentic self? And certainly anything artistic that you may have, say it's a new business that you're starting that has an artistic component, that really finally maybe in your life you decide to do something that's your own. This could be very favorable for you this year. All right, so that's that. The last 2 total eclipses that are going to be in Sagittarius, they sextile your sign. So here's now we're looking at favorable opportunities, and your 3rd house is involved. So this is communication, it's your neighborhood, it's writing, it's anything to do with commerce, it's also advertising and sales. So with these eclipses, you could have some favorable opportunities. Now, these eclipses, one is in May, that's at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, the full moon. And then there's a new moon on the 4th of December, that's at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. So really this takes up half the year, right? And eclipses, those effects can last 3 to 6 months or longer. So I would say, because your 3rd house is featured here, anything to do with communications, your neighborhood, commerce, advertising, sales, and even the way you present, literally present, you could just have some phenomenal opportunities here that probably will affect you for some time. Now, Sagittarius as a sign, is ruled by Jupiter, which is viewed as a lucky planet. But Sagittarius also has a lot to do with foreign people and foreign things. So I would say, hands down, that could be an important factor here. Where there's a foreign connection, that's actually going to be very favorable for you. It could have you too writing a book. The writing of it, not publishing it. That's what the third house is too. So there's a lot of things that could be affected here. Very favorable for you. And of course it all depends what is in that particular house. Do you have a number of planets in there? So you want to be looking at the 5-degree and the 12-degree mark of Sagittarius in your own chart for it to have any really direct important effects. Otherwise, a lot of times these go by without a whole lot of emphasis. But certainly you've got opportunities here to develop that third house favorably. Now, Gemini is very much featured, and your 9th house as well, with this Mercury Retrograde that's going to be coming up at the end of May to the 22nd of June in Gemini. So this could have you reconsidering a number of things. Now, Gemini actually has a house too. It rules a house. And the house that it rules is the 3rd house. We just talked about the 3rd house. So there may be extra emphasis here. And I'm getting this feeling, because it's the 9th house for you, where Gemini is, that this could really be to do with foreign people, foreign things are going to be important for you. And it could be to do with presenting. You could even put small courses together, that type of thing. And this whole Mercury retrograde in Gemini at the end of May could actually have you literally going back to the drawing board and putting some of these things together. Maybe these presenting tools, or these small courses, or your writing, that you put some kind of plan together. Right? Now, the birthdays that are particularly involved with this would be the 5th to the 20th of October birthdays most affected. But it doesn't mean that other Librans can't have the effects. It's just the more direct effects are for those birthdays. Now, we have Pluto in Capricorn will be squaring your sign. And in particular, it will be for those birthdays that are from the 18th to the 20th of October. Yeah. Okay. Or if you have an ascendant at 24 to 26 degrees of Libra, you could be very affected by that too. So overall, I would say, Libra, there's some pretty positive things here. Now the other thing is, you are an air sign, and all the Mercury retrogrades this year will be in air signs. So the Mercury retrogrades could actually work in your favor. And I would say that, in particular, if you have missed communications, or something is sent to somebody that wasn't supposed to get something, it was meant for someone else, but all those types of things, or there's a delay in communications for whatever reason and you're frustrated, these could all work in your favor this year, because you've got all these air signs working so favorably with your own sign of Libra. So know that as we hear of Mercury retrogrades, that you could benefit from them, even though it seems on the surface things are negative to start off with. Good luck, Libra. All right, let's go on to Scorpio. So for Scorpio, you're a water sign, and you are going to be trining this Jupiter that goes into Pisces midway through May, and then the end of December. But it's only from 0 to 2 degrees, but it does it 2 times. So if you've got your sun, for instance, at 0 to 2 degrees of Scorpio, it's going to be trining this Jupiter, and Jupiter just brings good luck. And so, in particular, birthdays from the 24th to the 26th of October could benefit from this double dose of Jupiter going into Pisces for a short period of time. Now, it is your 5th house that's effective here. So I would say that your 5th house, it could be a new love comes into your life. that maybe you randomly meet mid-May, and by the end of this December you're realizing this is a full-blown romance for you. Now, it can also be children, so this could be a pregnancy as well, right? What else could it be? It's games of chance, the fifth house. It's expressing your authentic self. Yeah, so it could be all those things come to play favorably for you during those time periods. Now, the last two total eclipses occur in Sagittarius, and this happens in your second house of basically the money that you make. It's also your value systems too. But this is the 26th of May. And the 4th of December could bring some changes for you. And then the other thing is, of course, we've got this eclipse that's going to be happening in your opposite sign of Taurus. The birthdays that affects are the 19th to the 21st of November birthdays. And this could just be a challenge for you in terms of people from the outside challenging you for some reason. Now, this sets up a series of eclipses that'll be really more in effect in 2022 and 2023 when the north nodes of the moon go into your opposite sign, and then the south nodes will be in your sign. So this may mark some important time for you with regards to perhaps someone new coming into, a partner coming into your life. This could be a business partner as well as a marriage partner, that you're going to have to incorporate somehow. Yeah, that's that 19th November eclipse, 27 degrees of Taurus. Take a look to see where 27 degrees of Taurus falls in your chart, and if there's anything significant like a planet or planets that are in there too. So in many ways, if I think about it, 2021 should be your year of preparation where you start reviewing and looking at your life and asking yourself, is this person, is this thing, is this job, is this place where I am right now aiding me on my path, my destiny path, where I really want to go in this lifetime? And I would say if it isn't, you need to start thinking about that in terms of strategies of what you might be able to do or incorporate towards the end of 2021 and certainly into 2022, because you're going to have eclipses happening in your sign and your opposite sign, as well as, of course, with eclipses you have the north nodes and the south nodes, and you're going to have the south nodes in your sign. So, you know, the effect is going to be strong, even though it's the south nodes in terms of destiny path, but you're going to be more required to rethink the way you've been doing things in the past, and that perhaps you need to look at a different way of doing things. But that's all coming up in the following year. But this could be a year of preparation for you, Scorpio, for sure. That's what I'd be doing. And this eclipse that I spoke about on the 19th of November could just be that sort of point that you point to and say, wow, it was around mid-November 2021 that I got this epiphany that I should be doing this and I shouldn't be doing that. So that's kind of where I'd like you to start thinking, Scorpio. Okay, back to 2021. So if we look at these squares that mainly it's happening from Saturn squaring Uranus, but we also have a Jupiter squaring Uranus too. These are background sort of energies. And they're both, these squares are coming from Aquarius, and they square your sign of Scorpio and your fourth house. So it could be that your home that you're living in, your mother to some extent, maybe even your habits, you're required to make some adjustments in this area of your home, your mother, your habits. I suspect that this may be actually your actual home, where you're having to either negotiate for a new home, change the home that you live in, that you're required to change the home that you're living in, or that you could have, a renovation project in your home happening for all of 2021. And renovations, even if they're planned really well, always have some frustrations in them. So that could be that background energy of the squares all year in your fourth house of home. That you're just doing renovations in your home, and it requires a lot of planning and some frustrations. Could be. But certainly there are going to be some changes in your home as well as your partnerships. You may decide to move as early as January. The end of January, we have a Mercury Retrograde that's happening in Aquarius. And like I said, that squares your fourth house. So something may come up. Now Mercury is communications, so it could be some communication of some sort. Has you pausing for thought with regards to making a decision to move. Maybe you thought you were all settled in here, and then some kind of communication happens that says, no, this isn't the place where I'm supposed to be. Okay. Good luck, Scorpio. For Sagittarius, of course, the last two total eclipses are in your sign. They're in 5 degrees and 12 degrees, June and December respectively. This is all happening in your first house. Big changes continue to happen for you. And it could be anything. We're talking about the fifth house. It could be you decide to totally change who you are, how you look on the outside. You could have things happen to you that change the inside of you too. Your whole environment around you may change as well. So we're talking about the first house. That's everything in your life, including yourself, are all up for changes. Hopefully positive changes in the end. I mean, you've got Jupiter ruling your sign, and Jupiter is certainly a planet of good luck. But for some, it may be something like a pregnancy. Certainly, having eclipses in your first house can suggest that you may gain weight and or lose weight, actually, because Jupiter expands. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so that's where the weight gain comes in. Jupiter likes to expand things. But your life is about to expand and grow in the most positive way. And eclipses last for 2 to 6 months, so that eclipse that happens on the 4th of December 2021, the effects of that, depending what you have, maybe you've got your sun there, this could have an effect of 6 months to a year, so take you right the way through 2022 too. Pay attention to what comes in for you. But certainly be open, right, and have an attitude of gratitude. You have Neptune squaring the suns, in particular birthdays that are from 10 to 15 degrees, or 10 to 15 of December. Those birthdays are most affected by Neptune square this year, and those ascendants that are from 18 to 23 degrees of Sagittarius. And what does that mean? Well, at the very least, it could just make you feeling tired this year, or you just need a bit of a rest. It can bring in immunological problems too. It can also have you reviewing maybe addictions or habits that are bad that you need to take care of, that now you have to do it this year. It can, though, bring in some elements of spirituality that are awesome, and can also bring in anything to do with music, where you maybe develop your musical talent, and that's where you put your effort, right? The square is effort. But it can also be deception, especially as the sun is involved. So I would just say, for those people who have birthdays between the 10th and the 15th of December, just take care of what appears in your life is genuine. Nothing wrong with doing a double check, checking in with people that you actually admire. This could bring in a guru, for instance, and it may be very good for you, but it might also not be good for you. And again, checking in with friends whenever you're in doubt. But certainly to have Neptune aspecting you can bring in a lot of intuition, right, and psychic abilities, where you just know when you go in a room, you can feel the energy, or you meet somebody and you know automatically they're a good person, bad person. Not such a bad thing to have. So the Jupiter and Saturn squares to Uranus operate as a background energy, and these will be sextiling the sign of Sagittarius, and it'll be in your 3rd and 6th house. So this is a time of opportunities. So through challenges and growth, right, and these will be unexpected challenges and growth, you will benefit. You will have some kind of opportunity given to you, and it'll involve the 3rd and 6th houses. So the 3rd house is communications, it's your neighborhood, it's commerce, it's sales, and any kind of commercial ventures. The 6th house really is the health house, so it involves your diet as well as exercise, but it's also your day-to-day work. So it might be that you're going to have some change happen, say in your day-to-day work, that requires you to do maybe a lot more communicating. And that might be standing up presenting to people. It might be putting mini courses together for somebody. And it may have something to do with increased sales and marketing. That's the other thing that the 3rd house actually rules. Yeah. Or you could just decide to change your health habits, and you decide to actually communicate about it in the 3rd house. Or you let people know what you did to get yourself in such great health. On the 10th of June, we have a Gemini eclipse occurring, that's in your opposite sign, at 19 degrees of Gemini. Now the birthdays effects are also the 10th to the 12th of December. So this could have somebody eclipse out of your life or into your life, for those that have birthdays around there. And you know, this is your 7th house, so this is partnerships. We also have a Mercury Retrograde happening towards the end of May, so in Gemini. So this is partners, 7th house. So this, I could see someone being eclipsed into your life or out of your life in terms of partnerships. And this could be business partnerships as well as romantic partnerships too. But it'll be something along those lines. So I guess watch out what happens towards the end of May. But this, you know, could be very favorable for you too. Now Mercury retrogrades can bring people back into your life as well. So it could be maybe an old previous love that you had comes back in. Pluto in Capricorn will be in your 2nd house, asking you to transform the way you make money and spend money. Also asking you to transform values, the value of yourself, and how other people value you too. And to some extent this can be love as well. So love could have a transformational effect on you at this time. And maybe that will work in conjunction with the whole eclipse that I spoke about, right, in Gemini, and the Mercury retrograde in Gemini. Maybe they'll all work in tandem together. But just have care with the way you spend money. You may have power to earn more money with Pluto in your 2nd house, but you may also want to be spending it. I would say have a budget. I mean, that just makes sense anyways. But with Pluto there especially, money can come in, but money can go too. More likely, Pluto is going to ask you to save that money that you earn. And that would be a good way to use that aspect of Pluto in your 2nd house. But you could have some opportunities from people in power that provide you with some more money. Right on the 13th of Jan, we have a new moon that's at 23 degrees of Capricorn conjunct Pluto. And this is going to be sextiling your sign. And so this new moon at the beginning of January 2021 could bring in some new opportunities for you to transform Transform, more likely, that whole area of money. Yeah, so look out for January, the beginning of the year, with regards to what you're going to be doing with that income that you earn, probably more of it. And I would suggest that you consider saving some of it too. This would be a great time to put your money somewhere long term. Yeah. Maybe you'll have a new job come in. Maybe that's what will happen. A new opportunity to earn more money could be that you change your job. That they show more value for you and back that up by providing you with more money in terms of your income. Good luck, Sagittarius. For Capricorn, you have Pluto in your first house. And specifically, this is going to be for birthdays from the 14th to the 17th of January, and ascendants from the 23rd to the 25th degree of Capricorn. And so this is just Pluto relentlessly trying to transform your life for you. In your first house, it's every aspect of your life could be affected here. And this doesn't have to be negative. I mean, to have Pluto in your sign is extremely rare, right? So try to go with the flow when something is asking you to transform a part of yourself, whatever it is, that you work with those energies. This can bring back great power to you. Just make sure you use your power wisely. So the Jupiter-Saturn squares in Aquarius, from Aquarius, are going to be in your second house of earned income. So this could have you, with Jupiter, producing more money, but Saturn says, yeah, but you've got responsibilities. So it could be both. Sure, I got more money, but I've got responsibilities now. Say you've got a child that you've got to now spend money on, or your partner doesn't work anymore and you've got to provide the money to pay the bills. But magically, you actually get Jupiter working for you and more money comes in. So, an interesting play here. With the squares themselves involving Uranus, this is background energy, both the Jupiter and the Saturn squares, all throughout 2021. We have your second and your fifth house. So I spoke earlier about just the Jupiter and Saturn part of it in your second house, but your fifth house is children. It's also your own business, so it could be that you decide that you want to use some of your money to set up your own business. And perhaps it's more accurately reflecting your authentic artistic self. And that's what you decide to do with this year, is to set your own business up. But it could have something to do with children as well, where the squares involve you, they challenge you. It doesn't mean you can't overcome them, but that it's not all straightforward, that you have to compromise and work with the energies. It doesn't all just happen, but hard work can produce some very good things for you this year with regards to that fifth house. And the fifth house is also, can be the start of a new love affair. So that could also be on the books for some Capricorns as well. That part of the transformation of that Pluto is a new love coming into your life, or maybe a new child. So the last two total eclipses, which happen in Sagittarius, are at 5 and 12 degrees of Sagittarius respectively, and they land in your 12th house. So the 12th house is really a house of rest. It's a house of hidden things, of secrets. It can be a time where we decide to really take up our spirituality. But I was thinking, because you've had so much activity with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto all in your first house, and now that Saturn and Jupiter, there's only Pluto left, that this literally may be a year where you figure out some really unique, ideal ways to get some rest. Maybe even take a sabbatical. That's the other thing I was thinking. Or retire. Or you have retired, but you've not had a chance to really retire, and you figure out ways to use your retirement that involves you getting some much needed rest. But it could be a time when you decide to really delve into spirituality of some sort, and that could be anything from metaphysical to shamanism to astrology even. It could be that as well. It may also have you spending more time in hidden places. An example of that would be a hospital. Not that you personally will have to go to the hospital, but if something happens in your life that involves you having to go into these institutions that are more hidden, like, say, a hospital. It can also have you taking up yoga, right? That's a positive way to use something like that, where it transforms you inside and outside. We have a Jupiter, or a Mercury rather, retrograde in Libra, and that's September, October time, and it squares Capricorn, especially as it goes from 25 degrees Capricorn to 10 degrees Capricorn, and that's in your 10th house. So this could have you reviewing your career, just as simple as that, where maybe you decide you go back and forth and start checking out, how can I retire? Or how can I change this career of mine so it more, it better suits what I want to do in my life, especially with all the things that you've been having to go through with that Saturn in your sign, which is no longer there now. We do have a first eclipse in Taurus, and that's going to be happening at 27 degrees of Taurus on the 19th of November. Well, this trines your sign and trines Pluto. So you could mark this sort of towards the end of, mid to the end of November, as a time where you may have some favorable things from those in power come your way. And this sets up a series of eclipses that will be more prominent once we get into 2022 and 2023, when the nodes of the moon move into Taurus and Scorpio respectively, because those will be favorably aspecting your sign, Capricorn. But in the 5th house, again, this is creatively expressing yourself at the very least, the 5th house. Children could become important for you. A new love may enter your life. Even some fame might come your way for some people. Now at the end of the year, mid-December 2021, we have a Venus retrograde happening in your sign. Yes. And it's from 26 degrees and it goes back as far as 10 degrees of Capricorn. So on the surface, this could have a new, or an old love rather, come back into your life. Venus can also represent money, so it could be that money that was owed to you finally comes in for you. It can also be an old friend that you haven't seen forever makes their way into your life towards the end of December 2021. Enjoy that. All right, Capricorn, breathe a sigh of relief that Saturn is out of your sign and you just have Pluto there, happily transforming you. All right, Aquarius. So Aquarius, you now are hosting both Jupiter and Saturn. And remember that Saturn does, as an ancient ruler, rule Aquarius. So in many ways, Saturn is still in his home, and that's a good thing. And Jupiter is fairly happy in Aquarius as well. Saturn is going to be here for 2.5 years. And of course, in 2021, we have 2 different types of squares. One is the Jupiter square Uranus in January, and then we have Saturn square Uranus 3 times throughout 2021. And it will be to do with your 4th house mainly. So this is your 4th house of home. So it could be that for 2021, you may actually go through some kind of decision to do renovating in your home. That's what I thought of initially. Or your home could just have some big changes that happen in it, or that you required unexpectedly to make some changes in your home. And this could be something as simple as, hey, you have a new baby that has to be now incorporated in your home. It could have something to do with your mother as well, that for some reason she becomes more of a focus this year. And of course, when we talk about your home, usually we mean your present home, but there could be an element of your old home that you have to deal with too at this time in 2021. And of course our habits, maybe habits that you've picked up over the years are not so good for you, and you decide that 2021 is the year where you're going to change those. That could happen too. So the last of the total eclipses happen in Sagittarius, and that favorably sextiles your sign. So these are providing opportunities for you in your 11th house. And your 11th house really relates to your hopes and wishes. Maybe some of those hopes and wishes are going to come true for you in 2021. But it also has to do with your friends and the groups that you belong to. So it might be that one of your friends is very lucky for you, or it turns out that it's a good thing you belong to a certain group because it brings you opportunities that are good for you. That may even help express some of your very dearly held hopes and wishes. Yeah, very positive. The last eclipse that happens in Gemini at 19 degrees on the 10th of June trines your sign and your 5th house. So again, this is children. It is a new love could come into your life at this time, or you could just have an opportunity to truly express your artistic, creative side in a very positive way. Now it's going to affect birthdays especially from the 8th to the 10th of February. Those are the birthdays that will be affected by that last Gemini eclipse. We'll have the first Taurus eclipse at 27 degrees on the 19th of November. And that's in your 4th house, but it squares that. So this may be just some challenges in your home that you have to surmount. Maybe some things that you didn't expect. But with an eclipse there, you will have to address something that, or it could be your mother too. The 4th house represents your mother. There may be something happening to your mother that you have to address at this eclipse. We have a Mercury retrograde in your sign at the end of January. In fact, all the Mercury retrogrades are going to be in air signs this year, and you're an air sign, so you're going to be positively affected by all the Mercury retrogrades that you hear this year. But to have one also in your own sign is very positive. It could have you at the beginning of January just tracking back over what you've done the previous year in 2020 and what do you want to change, and you actually spending some time and effort and energy figuring out what do I need to do this year in 2021 differently than what I did in 2020. So at the end of May we have a Mercury retrograde in Gemini that trines your 5th house, and then at the end of October we have a Mercury retrograde in Libra, and that trines your 9th house. So maybe through some kind of creative endeavor, you may be, I'm just thinking maybe some of you will be publishing this year. The 9th house also represents foreign people, foreign things. It also represents higher learning, like universities. For some of you, you may be going back to school. Some of you publishing a book. Some of you dealing with foreign people and foreign things, like negotiating. I see all these Mercury retrogrades for you, Aquarius, as a negotiation time, just with different things. At the end of October, it's your 9th house. End of May, it's going to be your 5th house. Right. All positive for you. But Saturn, now in your own sign, is going to bring some additional responsibilities for you. And it's going to be your choice to do what you need to do with those new responsibilities. But let me know what they are as you go through 2021. I'd be interested to hear. But Saturn is there for 2.5 years, just to help you get more organized, to bring maybe additional responsibilities, and these may be very welcome responsibilities. They don't have to be negative. Take care. We'll talk to you later, Aquarius. All right, we're coming up to the last sign here, which is Pisces. Now, Pisces, you still have, for some years, in fact, you will still have Neptune staying in your sign. It will go from 18 to 23 degrees, and it'll affect birthdays from the 9th to the 11th of March, especially. Now, to have Neptune in your sign is also rare. This basically should be giving you, on the positive side, a big dose of spirituality and compassion and inspiration too. But the other thing that it can do, it can make you very psychic and very perceptive. So I would say for all Pisces, but especially those birthdays I've mentioned, you know, for 2021 and maybe even beyond, make sure you have your own sacred space that you can go to, that you don't have everyone's vibes coming in influencing you, because you're going to need those types of places to go to where you recharge your batteries. I would say that's an important thing for all Pisces to do in 2021, but also for those birthdays that I mentioned where Neptune's going to be directly affecting your sun. Now, some positive thing that's going to be happening is that you're going to have Jupiter, planet of good luck and expansion, go into your sign very briefly. And it'll go in there twice in 2021. It's very unusual. So mid-May to June, and then the end of December, it'll go from 0 to 2 degrees of Pisces. Now the birthdays that affects directly will be the 19th to the 21st of February birthdays. And that's kind of like a double dip of Jupiter. So you may have something happen mid-May out of the blue that comes in, that's just a piece of good luck that develops into something at the end of December. And this could be anything, maybe something that you really need, that you've really been wishing hard on, presents itself mid-May and becomes a real reality at the end of December. Keep me posted, Pisces. It's highly unusual to have Jupiter in two signs, Aquarius and then your sign, Pisces, in 1 year. So I'd be interested to hear what people have happened to them that are Pisces. All right, so the total eclipses, the last two total eclipses are going to be in Sagittarius. It squares Pisces, and it's in your 10th house. So this says something's up with regards to your career and your goals. So you may do a hard think this year, especially around these eclipses. Now these eclipses happen in May as well as December time period. So those are the months where you will have the square aspect happening. And eclipses, you know, can last from 3 to 6 months. So your 10th house of career is going to be up for some kind of adjustment. You're going to have to overcome some maybe challenges, and it doesn't mean it's going to be all bad. But do take care with, because because you've got Neptune in here too, I would say just care with, especially if for some reason Neptune aspects your sun, and then these eclipses aspect either your sun or some other planet in Pisces. There may be some illusions going on that you have to pay attention to. You know, always check in with people that you trust. If you're not sure about something happening at work or in your career, check in with someone to see if what you're perceiving is correct or not. And investigate the facts. That's what I would say above all, is really try your best to collect the facts. But then conversely, because Neptune also gives you so much perception and psychic abilities, that you also want to listen to that. But I guess you need to be able to discern between the two of them. Is this a psychic perception that I'm getting, or is this a delusion? And do I need to collect the facts? I guess you could do both. You get a feeling about something, nothing wrong with writing that down, and then go behind the scenes and collect the facts of what the reality is, and then make up your mind from there. But this is directly affecting you in your career. All right, so we have a Mercury Retrograde in Gemini that will also be affecting you. And this is going to be squaring your sign in your 4th house this time. So now we've got your 4th house, which is opposite your 10th house that I just spoke about. So this is your home. So this just could have you, maybe you'll have somebody return to your home. A young person, Gemini represents the younger people, that comes maybe back into your home, that or that starts communicating with you, or that you're going to have to somehow incorporate into your home. It could also have you, having to go back and forth with a contract. Say you're going to be buying a home or selling a home. This Mercury retrograde could have you looking at all the details and making sure to, dot your I's and cross your T's in any contract that you do regarding your home. Yeah. And that's sort of May time. The other thing is you've got the squares that are prominent. The Jupiter, especially the Saturn square to Uranus. And the Saturn square to Uranus happens 3 times and provides background energy for you in 2021. Your 3rd and your 12th house are highlighted here. And so the 3rd house is communications of any sort. The 12th house is a hidden house. So it could have you communicating, negotiating. That's what I'm thinking. Negotiating with people behind the scenes. That's the 12th house. Yeah, I get that very strongly for some reason. And that these will be people that, have authority. That for some reason you're going to be doing some kind of negotiating, maybe even presenting things to people behind the scenes, or you negotiating things behind the scenes. And that's an important thing. But there are challenges there. Not that you can't overcome them, but there are challenges there. So that could cover a lot of areas of your life. You do have a positive thing happening. You do have that Pisces does sextile Taurus. And what do we have in Taurus? We have Uranus, planet of unexpected changes and opportunities, and that's in your 3rd house. So again, going back to that 3rd house as it relates to the other squares, you whatever you have in Pisces, at the very least it'll be your sun, it'll be sextiling that 3rd house. So this is unexpected opportunities. So it can also be unexpected inspiration too, right? And communication. That's what Uranus can bring. So with this configuration between Taurus and Pisces, you may have some very unique opportunities come to you with regards to communication of some sort. Now, it can also play out in terms of writing. So writing of any sort could become, some writing opportunity could come out of the blue and become very important for you. You have Pluto, planet of transformation, in your 11th house. And the 11th house really represents mostly your friends and the groups you belong to, but it's also your hopes and wishes. So Pluto may be transforming these areas where maybe you decide you want to change what your hopes and wishes are. Maybe you want to change up your friends and the groups you belong to. Whatever those, or by association, those people may be transforming you, right? And that's by a sextile aspect. So these are opportunities. Yeah, so you'll have opportunities to transform, whether you transform your groups and friends, or in turn they transform you. Now the birthdays most affected this year are going to be the 15th to the 17th of March birthdays, more directly. The rest of you may have already felt it or are yet to have it happen. This is positive opportunities to transform the 11th house. Now we have this first eclipse in Taurus at 27 degrees of Taurus on the 19th of November. And it trines Pluto in the universe, right? And it also affects your 3rd house. So here we're having bubbling up here, this 3rd house seems to be very important to you. And so pay attention to how you communicate Is there something in there that you need to transform? The way you present yourself, maybe literally how you present to other people, if you present in front of other people. But you may get some opportunity here on the 19th of November where people in power recognize maybe your writing skills, maybe your presenting skills. Maybe there's some big sale that you make. This rules commerce as well, right? That third house. Now it also is your neighborhood and your siblings. So there's a lot that is in the third house. So it could be that for some reason your siblings become more important for some reason in terms of your transformation. Or your neighborhood, where you actually live, becomes more important in terms of your transformation. But this eclipse starts off a whole series of eclipses that'll be more prominent next year and the following year, when we have the north nodes go into Taurus and the south nodes go into Scorpio. But that's a whole other story to talk about later. I hope you have a great year, and that I hope that whole Neptune in Pisces sprinkles lots of wonderful spiritual opportunities for you, Pisces. Please take care of yourself. All right, guys, that's 2021 as a wrap-up. I'm sending you lots of love and good wishes and good health for all of 2021. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me comments. I do timestamp everything, so there will be all timestamps that you can have to go back to whatever you want to listen to and observe again. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next when I do my January 2021 video. Happy New Year. Bye for now.